Hello, this is Giles Edwards from 366 Weird Movies, and I have had the wonderful opportunity to sit down for a chat with a number of the people involved in the film that came out last week, I believe it was. They are still in town, which means I can talk with them about art, life, memories, trauma, process, in regards to the film Lucid, which had a couple showings here about. So I'm going to hand off this microphone first to the person on my far left. Please, who are you? And
hi, my name is Caitlin Akin-Taylor, and I play Mia in Lucid.
My name is Deanna Milligan, and I'm the director, co-director, co-writer, co with Ramsey Fendel, and my name is Deanna Milligan.
And I am Ramsey Fendel, co-director, co-writer, co with the wonderful Deanna, and we're here at Fantasia Film Festival.
thank you, and just quick apology to the listener of this particular interview. We are not in the official interview room, which is a bit quieter, but I'm going to feel hopeful that you'll be able to hear all the wonderful insights that are going to come out of this kind of free-form last-minute thing. Indeed, the star of the movie has all of their bags over there ready to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So I have an all-encompassing tough question that I'd be interested to hear your interpretations of, and this is referencing something in the film, so check it out to understand why I'm asking, who is the doll?
Oh, I've been thinking about this.
I can answer this
Oh,
one.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah. Who is the doll? This is a really fun question that both Caitlin and John Luna, the actors in the film, would ask me periodically, who is the doll? That's the thing about it. I feel like he's asking this question because he wants her to know. And she doesn't know. He wants her to know, but that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to sort out that answer, and part of the journey in the film is figuring it out. But by the end, does Mia know who the doll is? I don't know. Do you think that there's an answer to that?
No, but just right now I got really excited. This is probably going to be like completely unrelated. I was like, what if the doll was actually the spirit of Mia, and then like when it breaks, it now becomes part of like the universe, and so like now it's like it's out. Like Mia can no longer be contained. The spirit of Mia can no longer be contained. It's like everywhere. But that was just a little bit that came into my imagination right now as you were speaking. It's like I don't even know if that's like legit.
I think it's totally legit and really
Right?
beautiful, because I think that that's the point also. And it's interesting that Fantasia has given us an opportunity to meet with fans and talk to press and writers, and it's really interesting for us, all of the pieces that we are playing with and how people are interpreting them. I really appreciate that you picked up on that question, because it's a very central part of the film for us, and it really does speak to, I think, what your interpretation of things are, and it's a perfect time for someone to bring that up again. Who is the doll?
Who is the doll?
In art school, I think and in these institutions with art and creativity, you're often asked to explain your work to someone maybe before you're ready, and in the process of creating something really special and close to Mia's heart, to interpret it then is impossible. And I feel like now the most fascinating thing for us with Lucid and talking to people like yourself is how you are interpreting it is really interesting, and there's a million different ways to interpret these symbols and themes that we're playing with. But the important thing for the artist is that they know what it's about, and that's why he was pushing her, and that's why Mia is very frustrated in that moment, because what she needed in that time was for him to help her unpack what it is that it's about. And instead, he pushed her up against a wall. But what she really needed was someone to help draw that out in a gentle, maybe more mentorship kind of way. But this is not what was happening in the power dynamics between her and her teacher.
If I may, I have a thought on that too, which sort of only just came to me. It's sort of like, if you know the idea of the Zen koan, where you are asked a question that really has no answer, because it's ultimately, it has to prod you into this almost emotional response to kind of break what you understand. So like the Zen master asked the Zen student, what is your original face before you are born?
Whoa.
Right? And so in keeping with that, it's like there is no specific answer apart from the one that kind of breaks you open. And I sort of believe that thank you, Giles. I think you sort of broke that open for me as well just now, and I think that was a bit of an understanding on that.
Whoa,
So
that was so profound. I was just gonna be like, I was like, do we have to know it? Why can't we just create art for the sake
Those
of
are all the
creating
right
art?
answers.
And maybe that's it. That it's all true. There's so many things like within it, and that's what it is like within art. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be at any point in your life. It's going to mean something different because of all the experiences you've gone through, so it's never going to be one thing. But I suppose if Mia could give an answer, then Mia would be able to have a reflection of where they're at in their life and who they are, and then maybe that would have given them a better understanding if they could have connected to that. So interesting. Well, food for thought.
And I guess emphasizing the centrality of that question, I believe it shows up at the hour mark of a 2-hour movie, so pretty smack dab in the middle of the narrative there. The fundamental point of this is perhaps not shown, but slightly illuminated, I guess. Well, we'll swing round to another, I guess, somewhat esoteric maybe, but more process-related question. The movie Lucid has any number of dream sequences, spiritual awakening moments, explorations in the mind, certainly kicked off by the protagonist Mia taking the titular drug from the back alley psychic. And obviously there are any number of technical ways you went about doing that, and to anyone who's watched any amount of movies in this vein, it's okay, one can sort of see how that is done. I'm curious about the creative back end of that, wherein you obviously have a vision of this vision, and how you maybe mentally or interacting with maybe material elements got to a point where you could try to transcribe your vision of the vision into the film vision as it is seen in the movie.
Yeah, I think what happened for us is that the movie kept getting carved away, and presenting opportunities for us because of the problem solving that we had to do, because of our many restrictions in budget, in manpower, our location. All of these things made us actually have the best opportunity creatively to create what we did. And that if we set out when we were looking for financing for the film at the beginning with the pitch that we had, that movie is very different than this movie. Even the monsters are different. Everything is it's a completely different thing, because in this case we didn't, like, for an example, in the production design, in the set, Caitlin helped us build that bedroom set. We didn't have a bedroom set for Mia, we couldn't afford that location, so we built it in our house, and mostly with street finds that we had on the side of the road, the toilet we found on the side of the road. Remember that first toilet we found and Ramsey didn't want to pick it up?
Oh my gosh.
And we were like, Ramsey, go out and get it.
Looking for trash to pick up.
Yes.
We could like take, and we're like, let's go, let's see what we'll find on the street today.
And eventually he went back and got it. So yeah, we used the old toilet, and we had all this, this stuff, but also the paint. We had red, white, green paint in our basement that was left over. That became the color palette. And then with Caitlin actually moved into our house because we couldn't afford to have a separate residence for her while we were filming. This allowed us to have really kind of Gus Van Sant, River Phoenix, Keanu Reeves style kind of fun. Let's get up, grab the camera at sunrise and go swimming. We had like lots of late night epiphanies about what we wanted to do, and the house became a hub for all the artists in our film to come and go, open door. The restrictions made the film better, and then I don't think I could have imagined that we would have been able to get the punk rock feeling that we were, because to be punk rock you gotta work like hard. You got to rip your shoulder in half carrying sandbags, and
it really did injure your shoulder.
It really did. And a lot of, I don't know if you guys want to add to the punk rock aspect of it.
Well, I was thinking just going a little farther back when you were sort of looking at back end stuff as well, like where some of this material, as we were figuring out what we were going to include in some of these more phantasmagorical elements of the film as well, correct? Was that we, it sort of was a way that dovetailed with our own creative process, in that we, when we start fishing around in an idea, we have a kind of yes, pun intended. We develop a kind of hunter-gatherer method of we throw a camera in a car and we start driving around and we start gathering materials, and sometimes there's a real specificity to it. Sorry, but on the other hand, sometimes we don't exactly know where these things are going to fit into this larger narrative. But we found that because we had been working on this movie more or less for 6 years, the short dovetailing into the feature, that it was sort of like a grand collection of everything that we found interesting over the previous 6 years. And so if it were seascapes and wild oceanscapes, or more abstract images, all of these things. We also shoot on film. We love to shoot on film, and we thought that we knew that part of the process was developing this kind of bank of images that almost became like our own. It almost became like a kind of collective unconscious of material that we could then draw upon. And so with that kind of bedrock of material, it really began to inform the visual style before we even had entirely figured out the narrative of what the feature was going to be. And then so when it came to when we finally landed on, when we first began shooting the flashback scenes, which were the first things that we shot, the 1970s flashback scenes, we already were able to include with those flashback scenes that were kind of more or less Mia's past, Mia's dreamscape, that we had kind of assembled this kind of, not just those scenes, but this sort of greater world. And then those things would then go to inform who Mia actually was. It actually kind of became Mia's unconscious. Yeah. So we had been collecting all this stuff, and then suddenly Mia, for the film, that was the material that was all at the bottom of her brain, and then then everything else became informed by that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was just so much fun. I don't even know if this is still related. I think it is. I'm gonna say yes, it is. Like with getting to see all of those details and then taking them and then from everything that was shot before and being aware together of, okay, these are things that are important to Mia and that have been significant in her life, and then dropping little seeds and Easter eggs all over the set of thinking like, if that's the experience that Mia's had, what is she attracted to now? What do they surround themselves with? What things have they like picked up and all the sort of things, and then just like.
And remember when you came to, like, the first thing you did was sit down and look at all of the flashbacks.
Yes.
And then that was like feeding your imagination.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the Good Girls Don't Tell Lies. And that was like, I was like, oh my God, that feels like a core memory. And I was like, gonna put that on it, stick that on a jacket. So yeah, that's when the Good Girls Don't Tell Lies jacket came into being. And trying to think about, what sort of like art would Mia like be creating. And so just finding stuff that was like lying around to like make it, and then getting the beach driftwood to make the body that she like wears for the performance piece that Mia does, and nails like on the spine, and a lot of stuff. Now I think about it, it's like Mia starts to explore the human form and what it means to like either so there's the small one and that she's able to hold herself, and then the other one that she's wearing, so it's like
The
also
burden.
like trying to get in it. Oh my gosh, there's probably so much to unpack. We're going
There's a lot of,
deep.
I guess it's just there's so many cross references
Yeah.
from that sort of basis that we
Yeah.
created, that Mia understood some of it and she remembered
Yeah.
some of it, but then there were other parts that were lost to her because she had been hypnotized by her mother.
Yeah.
And
We
so
didn't want her to uncover everything, and like one of the things that we were starting with a mantra was, this is not a Hollywood film. We wanted to play with the audience in the beginning that it was a coming of age, because everyone thinks they know how that goes. So when we hit them with the first dream, we really wanted them to feel like what our goal was, that people really feel like we're speaking to them in the audience. We wanted them to feel like they were being hypnotized by Solange, or like having maybe like a dream-like experience as an audience member. So we were very specifically trying to affect a certain audience member in many ways, and often we even broke the fourth wall to look at the audience in those cases when we wanted to speak to them. So for
That's
us,
really cool.
it's been
Yeah.
crazy being here and actually speaking to the people who get the film, because wow, what a cool thing that is to communicate that way. And it's exciting to see that's happening, that we can have that conversation.
This next question is largely for Caitlin here. Obviously, we've just heard quite a bit about the depths of the Mia character, how that character was explored by all three of you and the actor performing it. I know there's a term I've heard for certain people who perform one way or another, the get set. Now, Mia is terrified a lot. She's confused a lot, and she's understandably, in I think every case I saw, frustrated a lot, and there's various spikes of particular emotion for that. So I was wondering if you had a particular thing you did or a thing you tried. Like, okay, so the camera's not rolling, you're talking about it, you're about to shoot something, all of a sudden, okay, camera's on, directors say action, and you need to be Mia. Do you have a switch, perhaps, that you flip? Or are you, what would you be able to talk about that?
The whole thing was very immersive, so I feel like Mia feels very close to me, so I feel like I have been Mia for quite some time, and then we were literally living in it, so I don't feel like I really came too far out of Mia. So I think that in a way helped. It would be like lying or existing within like a certain like surface. So imagine there's like a body of water and you're somewhere about here near the surface and of being Mia, and then for certain scenes you would drop deeper into it. And Deanna has such a wonderful way of directing me that on days when I'd really struggled, Deanna would come and whisper like a single word or like just like a little phrase, and then suddenly it would just click in my brain, and I was like, what sorcery is this? How did you know? That's what was missing, and now I understand what Mia feels. So that's a really special and exciting way to work with you, Deanna.
We have a good thing.
Yeah, and I feel like you've always been so supportive. And I remember there was one day I was really struggling and I really missed home, and we had a big long shot, and it was a lot of people on set, and I was like, I just really don't want to let anyone down, and I could feel all that, and that's the scene where Mia's giving the presentation with the dead fish on it, and Deanna was like, Caitlin, what's going on here? What's happening? Be honest with me. Tell me what you're feeling. And I was trying to hide it, and I was trying to give a different performance, but Deanna wasn't interested in that. Deanna said to me, Caitlin, like, I'm more interested in what's going on underneath there, so use that. So Deanna never made me have to like hide away or steer away from any experience that I was having. Instead, Deanna would encourage me to use it as a way to not only like move through it, but to be able to create more depth to the character. And yeah, so that's one of the many stories of Lucid. But then other days there was like techniques, like and it was interesting because a lot of music and a lot of like physicality. Like Deanna has like observed a lot, and like Ramsey say that like I'll do a thing and I'll like start like physically like just like getting into it. But yeah, like on set, I remember like between takes and stuff, like just being there. Like if I was waiting, I'd just like lie in Mia's bed and do all those sorts of things, or draw, or any of those like sorts of things. There's a whole variety depending on the scene. Yeah.
More than a good enough answer,
Okay,
for
great.
sure. So I'm gonna see. So we've got various influences for the character Mia here. We have the relationship with the mother providing the trauma, shall we say.
Yeah.
We have the grandmother character, who is the quiet, supportive one. There's the art teacher, who is the adversarial mentor. And I think what he does can be cruel, but is very important to get the results that he knows Mia wants to get. And then, so those are all kind of established things. So each of these roles are there and part of her life, as you know, they're parts of lives of any given individual. What most people don't have enter their life is a team of art thugs storming into their workplace. Now, is it Tatiana? Titania. If you might talk a little bit about Titania and her crew and the inspiration for that, and your hoped for purpose of this, probably the strangest of the, we'll say, character types that are played around with in Lucid here.
We knew we wanted to have a strong element of in the 90s. The 90s were cool, you guys, and
Well, we didn't know that at the time.
no, but we didn't know. We hated the 90s
When we were in
while,
the 90s?
while the 90s were happening.
We thought they were a bummer.
But in the 90s, it was there were often performance artists. When you went to a party or an event or out in the world, you would interact with performance artists, and they were quite terrifying in some cases, because really with performance art, it's unhinged and anything can happen. So if we're making art horror film, this is a great spooky character to come invade Mia's place of work where she cannot be an artist. She works in a fast food restaurant called Bitch and Chicken, and she wears basically a costume that's like a chicken baseball hat with a cowboy hat on top. It's like a hybrid restaurant, Western themed, chicken themed Chinese restaurant and Canadian cuisine. And she has to deal with this character, Titania, who is claims to be some kind of art star that she doesn't know. And it turns out later on she comes back, she does a performance art piece at the school and Mia has to interact with this really formidable, intense character. But Leslie, who plays this amazing character,
fantastic.
she was our production designer, and we were looking for this character, and realized pretty quickly after getting to know Leslie in a short while that she is this character. She's taken it, and actually she performs as Titania now often. I mean, she was in Montreal at just at a meeting us at a bar during Fantasia, and came in full Titania outfit and sat on the bar, and we got kicked out of there and everything. It was like absolutely, life imitating art life. And we wanted that character to be an unusual, provoking element, and the the David Lynch kind of style of the spooky.
I had this thought that she was going to be kind of like the Frank Booth character in Blue Velvet, that she had to be threatening, that she might punch you in the face, or her art gang might do violence towards you, or that she had, it couldn't be like look, here's a nice example of a working artist, of a working performance artist just going about her day doing things. She had to have this sort of there had to be an element of threat. So obviously their shtick was that they kind of burst into people's places of work and would threaten people and videotape them. And I actually, as Deanna said, you would go to parties in the 90s and you would sometimes encounter that sort of thing. And I actually do remember that. I remember being at a party, and it was this guy, and he was carrying around a surfboard, and he was kind of trying to co-opt everybody in the room into his performance piece. And it was like, I don't want to be involved in this. And so I suppose it was sort of a way of acknowledging how weird some of that work was. And I don't think people don't seem to really do that anymore. I think that there's a greater sense of respect for people's personal space and consent.
Yeah.
And it was decidedly not that in the 90s. It was much more like, I'm gonna
attack you,
involve you in this thing. And I always found that kind of coercion really kind of disturbing and frightening. And anyway, so that was sort of the inspiration for this character. Also to show an artist who, unlike Mia, who is not frustrated, who is not burdened by self-doubt, but can just spontaneously kind of do this thing, and to the extent that she even has sort of this entourage around her.
Yeah, she seemed, I could see her existing maybe off to the side or even toward the center of the Million Liquid Sky came to mind with that, because I also caught her doing her performance art while I was waiting in line for an hour or so before some other screening, while Mia in character was seated on the floor drawing on the back of lobby cards for the thing. So that was I hadn't seen a performance art promotion yet in my time for Fantasia. So that was,
we aim to please, to provoke. Actually,
it went over very well, but then again, you weren't in anyone's face. You were just sitting there on the floor till you had to go serve chicken. And but I did I was obliged by Leslie to help her with one of her props just before I was trying to get into seating for whatever it is I was watching that evening. So,
unapologetic to the end.
That's
Leslie.
There are ways that's problematic, but also there were things to appreciate about that, I feel, at least. But then again, as one of the least threatening people I know, I'm also not easily threatened myself. So let's see. I'm just I watched this screener just before I walked over here, actually. So it's all a bit it's fresh in the mind, with the downside of that being things are a bit jumbled in my notes here.
It does. There's a sense of overwhelm, I think.
There's a lot going on, yeah. But I got a little here. I got one of my little special asterisks here. I'd like to hear all three of you, sure, talk about the religious influence, because obviously there's some dabbling with not so much occult but primal things with the chicken bones, driftwood, etc.
Yeah.
But she also has a very prominent, I think it's neon lit cross in her room, and she has a rosary, and this is the kind of thing that hints at perhaps magnitude. So if you three might care to elaborate on that, please.
Well, we were tying in some of Mia's past and present, and when the base storyline that in the flashback sequences is about Mia's parents in a traveling folk rock band called the Sweetbirds. The Sweetbirds has sort of a Jesus freak aspect to it. They're definitely into folk rock, but they would play at churches, and there is a connection also in the flashbacks as far as the fish goes with Christianity and evolution, and starting where things are kind of coming from. Like, how does she unpack, like her teacher asked her later on to explain her art, and she kind of goes deeper into trying to find these deeper themes about creation and evolution, reincarnation. She says, like, resurrection. Like, in art, how are you creating it? You are the creator, and how Mia's unpacking little pieces of her past, and some of them have to do with this church, and being a child wandering around a church while your parents are doing a concert and talking to people that may or may not be allies of Mia's, that she had. We wanted to play with this idea in the flashback that she was speaking to a nun that said something about her parents that kind of stops her in her tracks. Ramsey and I were recalling being children and thinking about people, an adult telling you something that they shouldn't really say to you, and that uncomfortable feeling of being kind of alone and unprotected in a place that's public, like a church, or a community center, or somewhere where there's people gathering, that as a child you sort of wander through that space, which just shows Mia's loneliness. So she takes little pieces also, I think, from this past with the church and the affiliation with the church, just like she does with the other memories. There's some she can access, some she cannot. And I remember the same for me when I was a little kid. I went to Sunday school, and I remember having to get cleaned up. I had to wash my hair and have clean shoes. Like, that's most I remember about those days. But
Sunday best.
The Sunday best. And she's picking little pieces from it, but not necessarily a lot of comfort, I don't think. But we did have this rosary that I'm wearing now, as almost in every scene of the movie. Yeah. Mia wears it, and it was on her mother's windshield mirror in the car. So it was part of also just a beautiful symbol as well, like a sacrifice. And yeah, do you guys want to even go more?
Yeah, I suppose as I think of that too. Yeah, just to recap that memory thing too. I remember being in a church co-op, and it wasn't a nun, but it was partly the inspiration for that was this woman came up to me, and I was the child of a single mother, and she said something to me about what did she say? It was something about, where's your daddy? And I said, well, I don't have a daddy. And then she said, your mother must be a bad person.
What?
And I was a little, I must have been 4 or 5, but it was one of those things
and I think there's not an adult around,
and that isn't, I'm not saying it wasn't a nun, it wasn't, there's sort of this strange, one of those sort of strange, it continues to resonate, and so to create that, there's this kind of religious but not heavily religious background to Mia, I think was really interesting, and then to see that reverberate forward, and then when it comes to her trying to discern what her art is, with Jesus, and she's picking up on a lot of things. It's not orthodox Catholicism by any sense. She's looking for something, and I think obviously we are looking at that. Ultimately, this is a kind of transformation story, right? She is decidedly one being that becomes another being, and so there is this kind of symbolic, deeper sense of that, which in shorthand terms, obviously, you talk about Jesus, reincarnation, resurrection. So, but there's no. I think it that contextualizes it, but I don't think we were heavy in our it was good, it was bad. It's simply part of the fabric of who she was, much as it was kind of the fabric of who we were when we were growing up. So it's sort of I think we're a little agnostic in our presentation of it.
It also is, I think it's, in Mia's case, as a child that needed somebody to help her. She was in a situation where, like a lot of children are, where people witness it and maybe they don't say anything. And the 1970s, when we were children, I accepted that children are to be seen, not heard. So a lot kind of went down that people were quiet about. The church is definitely part of that, and as a symbol. So I think that was an easy way for people to access that. Do you have anything to add?
I think I was just, again, I feel like I go into little dreamscapes in my head of things. Anyway, I was thinking that when putting up the cross, I feel like Mia, whenever they went to go do that, they probably weren't thinking about it at all. They were like, "Oh, this looks cool."
Yeah.
And then they put it there, and then actually, I was thinking about it and reflecting on it, and I was like, "Wow, Mia has just built a temple." Into her dreams and all of that stuff, that's where she goes. That's the whole bed thing.
That's my answer.
And then going through the door, and then it's that's the place, and then going deeper into it. So I was like, I think we've got way more in there than we're actually. Yeah. I feel like it's going to uncover with time as well, just what's going on. And I think that's what happens. You'll pick things and you won't understand the significance in the time. It just feels right. And I think that's what happens with me. And there's things that she's taken in her life and she holds on to, but doesn't understand the full significance of it yet, or why. So I feel like with the rosary, whether or not she fully connects with the faith or not, it's I don't know, it just feels, I don't know, right?
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, what was interesting was that beside over her bed where the cross is, just to the left of it, there's that fantastic spiral.
Yeah.
So it's sort of there's that, and then the spiral just goes into the
impending void. That is constantly right beside it. It's almost like that sacred place is constantly beside this darkness, and and the two are coexisting, and it's and they're almost touching always, and it's and also I think that's really interesting now, because now we're thinking about if you think about dreams and then your subconscious, and it's those two worlds of being awake and asleep, or the conscious and the unconscious, they are also very, very and then it gets messier and messier as it goes, and more stuff to discover later.
Wow.
That's
cool.
Thank you, Conde. All right. Well, to reluctantly rip us from this mysticism here, if you might talk, I'm not sure what debut it was for Lucid at Fantasia. It was world premiere. Okay, so I'm wondering if you might talk to us about immediate plans for getting this movie around more festivals and distributors and the like. Obviously, that can be further down the line. There's no wrong answer here. Yeah. And I guess after that, so they don't have to hand this microphone back to and fro too much. Yeah. So after talking about where Lucid is going, any other projects that you might care to touch upon?
Sure, yeah. We are going to be hitting film festivals all over the place. We're going to all the genre festivals, but we can't talk about them quite yet because the film festivals have particular ways that they like to. But I'll tell you later.
Yeah,
why.
we'll tell you later.
And yes, and we're talking to distributors here at Fantasia, so we're hoping to have a theatrical release or stream somewhere at some point, which we don't know yet. But we know that our audience is here. Like we're getting people following us around Fantasia, and it's been really exciting to meet the fans of the film because it's kind of who we thought they would be. So that's exciting. We're working on a new concept, like a 80s cult kind of film, because we live in Victoria, BC, which is the epicenter of satanic panic, and because we were teenagers in the 80s, so we want to make sure that we are true to the city that we live in and kind of work within that. So it's called Lucky, and it's sort of like Midsummer meets Mandy, but wet and full of wasps. So
it's on between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago there was a documentary here about Michelle Remembers. Yeah.
So
We grew up in the shadow of Michelle Remembers, with the threat that we would always be, that we could be abducted by Satanists.
Yeah.
And that was a childhood concern.
Fear. Yeah.
Yeah, I come from a bit further away, so there were echoes of that nonsense in my distance, but nothing so immediate. And I think I'm slightly younger than you too. But so I was like, okay. So I'd heard it. By the time I'd heard of it, I think it had largely blown over.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of neat things, fun things in regards to the movie Lucid, but there is one question that we at 366 like to pose to all of our interview targets before we let them go. You've given part of the answer for this, but the question is double-barreled. What is your hometown, and can you recommend a restaurant there? We'll start with Caitlin here.
Oh no, because
Or we can end with Caitlin.
I've been living in so many different places. So if hometown, like to way back in Scotland.
Whatever you feel is your current home. Or adopted hometown.
I'm just gonna give you 3 different countries, 3 different places. So there's really good fish and chips in Oban, along the seafront. I actually can't remember which one it is, but it's really, really good, and just fish and chips. And then in Savannah, where did I go in Savannah? There's a place that I'd always go to. I can't remember now. This is really look at how good I am at giving recommendations. Yeah, it's a place in the middle of Georgia in the USA. I don't remember a place. You'll find it. It's fine, sweetie.
But I love what a snapshot this is for you,
Right.
like your nomadic self right now.
Oh my
I like
gosh.
this for this answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep
Okay.
going. I'm gonna remember. my
Okay,
favorite places.
Victoria, BC, Sukjai Thai, don't miss it. Family-run Thai restaurant, Fort Street, Victoria, fabulous. Also, we got to say the awesome 90s inspired Pagliacci's
That's true.
in Victoria, and it hasn't changed since the 1990s. If you want to go,
1980s.
if you don't have a lucid dreaming elixir and you want to walk through the doors into the 90s, you can just do that in Victoria, BC, Pagliacci's. Any other ones?
I think you stole my top 2, but then I think also just down the street from Sukjai Thai, there is the spectacular J&J Wonton, which is by far the best Chinese in Victoria, BC, which has wontons to die for in a variety of formats.
Good one.
But that said, we're very lucky. We have an abundance of, for the
town.
size of the town, which is like 300,000. It's a very foodie town. It's got some really spectacular offerings. So, but those are some of our favorites. So come see us.
Yeah.
We're around. You can definitely, it won't be hard to find us because we'll be driving around in our 1974 yellow Volkswagen Beetle.
That's hard to miss. Did you remember this? Wonderful.
That's
the
hardest
question.
Oh, this one's good, and this one's good. And it's like, I guess, is it Bao? what it's called.
Oh, yeah,
and
wow.
it's like just stuff
The
like
ramen place in Victoria.
Oh yeah, that's really
They do
wonderful.
really good food.
Yeah, it's also in
That's also in Victoria.
Yeah,
So-
and then I really liked the Public in Savannah. They did a really good shrimp and grits. That was really nice. That was really, really tasty.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Giles. That was a lot of fun.
I'm so impressed by you and you playing with us on the first day. And we really it must have been weird sitting there and seeing that all just unfold like that.
So I've been considered a spectacle myself.
Yes, you understand.
Yes, we thought the
Certainly
bow
good.
tie, the bow
You're
tie
people.
clad fell out at the front of the
You were
line.
the only person who drew a picture.
Oh, you got that. Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah,
Well, you're
yeah,
welcome.
yeah.
really cool.
We thought, well, there's somebody that's
Art
going to
inspiring art.
understand. That's going to understand Lucid.
Yeah, which is what this is too. It's cool that you're writing about the film and watched it. Like, we really appreciate you taking the time to consider it all.
That's what I'm most excited about with Lucid coming out, is that people are going to be talking about the ideas of what does it mean, all sorts of stuff, and then and that's dreaming. People are dreaming and they're using their imagination and they're expanding upon that, and that makes me so excited. Like, I'm excited to revisit it and go, what could it mean now? Because it meant something different whilst we were filming, because we had to just make choices and just do them. Whereas now we can have a look and we have all the time in the world to be able to, come up with different theories and stuff, and play with different ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to change. I feel like there's never going to be one sense, or maybe there is, I don't know, but I know for myself, I'm going to probably give one answer in one interview, and another they'll say, what does it mean? I was like, oh, maybe it's this too.
I think it's kind of the maximalist nature of the film that we, and I think for those that get it, we hit them hard with a lot, and it doesn't all have to stick, but if it pokes you or prods you in one way or another, then I think
I just feel like it
done it.
screams creation and like imagination, and it's just
Well, this has been Giles Edwards from 366 Weird Movies talking about Lucid, a charming film about a young art student who finally feels good about her project. And I've been here with Caitlin, Deanna, and Ramsey, the filmmakers, so thank you all very kindly for talking with me.
awesome. Thank you.